don't know if you've ever noticed this, but despite the fact that online, everyone seems to be talking about business and marketing and sales and making money, and yet very few people actually are offering to teach you how to run a business for real. So much of what is sold is based on you being handed some roadmap to do some really specific thing. Like, here is how to launch a group program that is going to make you this much money. Here's how to set up the systems of your business. Here's how to blow up on Instagram. But very few of them ever address the fact that a business is an ecosystem. Like, they don't connect all of the dots. And it means that we end up with a whole bunch of things that we're doing, but we don't ever have this sense of like truly running a business, or at least that's how it's felt for me. And I know for so many of my clients, it's been the case because we don't feel like we truly understand what we need to do to succeed in business. We keep operating with this sense of instability and uncertainty. Yes, doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, all the while going, am I even really a business owner? Like, am I just pretending that I'm running a business? And to be honest, two things can be true at once. Like, sure, you're running a business, but if there is not that sense of responsibility and ownership and understanding and groundedness in it, you are kind of pretending to run a business. So today I want to change that. I want to give you some new ways of looking at your business that are going to allow you to take full ownership, to see so much more clearly what is actually required of you to make your business succeed, and for you to really understand where your business is at in the big scheme of things so that you can start to focus your attention on what is actually needed right now. Because there is a very dangerous trap that we can fall into as business owners, and that is when we are trying to model what we're doing based off what we're seeing in the outside world, not understanding that what these other successful people are doing are based on not only, their unique skill sets, their resources, their audience, their expertise, but also based on where their business is at in the journey. Because what gets us from 0 to 1 is one thing. What gets us from 1 to 2 is another thing, 2 to 3, and so on. And for you, if you are somewhere earlier in the journey, and when I say earlier, this is less based on time and more about what foundations have been laid for your business. If you are missing certain foundations and then you try and start to add strategies or tactics based on what someone else is doing who does have those foundations in place, you're of course not going to get the same results. But again, no one is talking about this because so often we are being sold to in this industry by people who have a vested interest in us signing up and buying that one specific thing that they're selling, like that business in a box, that launch a thing in a certain amount of time. And they don't necessarily care whether or not that fits in with your bigger picture strategy. They don't care if it works for you long term. They mostly care that you sign up for that thing. And sure, you may get some results from that program. I'm not saying that people are selling lies, but just because you get some results from this particular thing doesn't mean it's going to actually solve some of the root issues that are going on in your business. So again, this today is really about, let's zoom out and let's understand that business is actually about having a full ecosystem. Your business is something that is alive and that needs nurturing and is going to take time. Speaking of alive, nature can teach us so much about business. Like, just think about a tree and what it takes for a tree that you just take for granted, that's out there in a park, that has obviously been around for hundreds of years. Think of what it had to go through to actually get to that point. For one, only a certain number of seeds are ever even going to turn into seedlings, let alone actual trees. But for that seed to be able to sprout, it needs to be put in the right position. Like, the ground has to be right, the amount of sunlight it gets, the amount of water it gets. There has to be nutrients around it. And then when it becomes a little seedling, it is so fragile. If it gets trampled on, if the weather is too harsh, if it doesn't get enough water, if it gets too much water, the seedling could die then and there and not go on to become a tree. And your business is so similar to this. The earlier on we're in this process, the more attention and nurturance your business actually requires. It is not something we can just set and forget, which is where some of these programs are problematic. People are selling these things that promise for you to go to, 0 to 6 figures in a very set amount of time when you don't necessarily have all of these other conditions required for sustainable success. But then I also want you to think about a tree that the taller it gets, we know the deeper those roots are getting. So, for us to even get to this point where we are reaching certain levels of success and visibility and abundance, that means our roots have to be so strong, so deep. And this is what is often missing when we achieve success too quickly, or we try and skip steps and go to having, leveraged visibility and making all of this money before we have those roots in the ground. These are the things that can cause us to crash, to whether it's us personally burning out or just not being able to sustain the results in our businesses. So, sticking with the theme of nature, the first framework we're going to talk about today is about getting you out of this idea that business is something that just kind of happens like that. Like, oh, as long as there's the right ingredients, I can succeed. Instead, we need to see this as a journey that is very similar to one in nature. In fact, I want you to see it as a journey that is cyclical, which is what nature teaches us. There are seasons for everything, and we circle back around because things change, every single year. The same can happen with our businesses, not necessarily as like an annual thing, but you will find that you naturally go through seasons in your business. And if you're not giving yourself those seasons, which very few of us do because we're not taught to, because everyone successful out there is modeling this one way of working. And the way that they're usually modeling is based on them already having teams in place. And the business owner is already at a point where they can operate in a more flowy, cyclical way, whereas the business keeps running itself. But when you are a solopreneur or you have a small business and a huge amount of the day to day is on you, this is where it's so important for us to make sure that our business is just as cyclical as we are so that we can honor our own energy levels and also honor the needs of our business. The seasons are cyclical, so it's not like there is an actual first season. But when it comes to business, I like to see winter as the very beginning because winter is a time of darkness. It's a time of stillness. There's a lot of potential here where we set intentions, we're doing a lot of dreaming and we're doing visioning and we're gathering our strength because often we have just finished a season of harvesting and working really hard, and we need a moment to catch our breath, reassess. And if you are multiple cycles into your business, this is less about starting something brand new, but more about reassessing where you're at. Is what you've been doing feeling really good? Does your strategy need adapting? Do you want to pivot in some way? Winter is when we do this. We're not actioning anything. We're giving ourselves time to really feel into what's right. And then comes spring. So, this is all about new beginnings. This is when we start to plant seeds based on the visions that we had in winter. There's like this crackle of new energy in the air. We're just mobilizing ourselves because there is obviously a lot of inertia that comes with winter. We've been resting, we've been still. And sometimes it takes a little bit to get moving again. And seeing that experiments can be used to take some of the pressure off, to help guide us towards what we need to be doing without having to overcommit, like I have talked about before, where it's like sometimes we just go all in before we've figured out if it's the right thing for us to do. Spring is a time to figure those things out, to do things in the simplest way possible before we decide if we're doing things for the long term. Then comes summer, and this is when we are really starting to commit longer term to the strategies that we've decided are the things that are right for us. So we're going to be doubling down. We're thinking about how we can amplify what is already working. Think about the full moon or summer and what that represents. It's full sunshine. So we want to now really bring the most light to what it is that we want to do. And we are really focused on nurturing and growth. And that brings us to autumn or fall, depending on where in the world you are. And this is the time for harvesting. It's for celebrating all we've accomplished. There is an energy of maturation here, really thinking about how those roots can continue deepening, how we can strengthen the foundations that we require to take things further. And there's going to be a natural evolution that's taking place during this time. We may find that there are things that we've outgrown. And so while we are reaping the harvest, we're also shedding and we're letting go and we're starting to make space. Think about all of the leaves falling off the trees. So before we move on, I want you to think about where you feel like you are right now in terms of seasons of business. Like if you are in a stage of feeling like, I think I've outgrown this. I don't think this is what I want to be doing anymore. I'm not sure I can keep operating this way. You might be in an autumn season. If you've been in a season of rest, of pause, of not really wanting to take any action and just feeling happy to just be for a while, then you might be in a winter. And then I will say that when it comes to spring and summer, I feel the majority of entrepreneurs try and skip spring and go straight into summer. Like I was saying, over committing to things and being in such a hurry to make things succeed. And most of us will find that if we're forcing summer, we should probably be actually focusing on spring and allowing our strategy to be developed organically, allowing action to lead to answers rather than trying to skip steps, which means that we normally also then just have to backtrack. This is when we end up in a stage of overwhelm and burnout, and could be why you are taking this course right now. Knowing what season you're at is incredibly important. It allows us to get back in flow with the natural way that we're built to create. But there is another factor that we need to be aware of that really is about us taking a good hard look at our businesses and going, okay, how are we doing? And making sure that we are prioritizing what is truly needed. And this is going to be based on the health level of your business right now, something that we can completely forget about. I think another one of the tricky traps that we can fall into as business owners is just kind of seeing us as the business, always just being in a state of, I just have to keep going, going, and not having a healthy separation so that we can look clearly at the state of our business and actually understand what it requires from us. Because again, I want you to see it as a living thing. Does your business have enough oxygen? Does it have enough water? Is it getting enough rest? Like, what is it missing? Where is it out of balance? And we do this when we can start to assess our business in terms of how healthy it is. There are 3 levels that I like to use in terms of business health that are going to then tell us what we need to do next and focus on what is truly important. The first level is critical. So I want you to think like this is like if we were unwell, we would be in the ICU at this point. So some signs that your business is in a critical condition: not enough cash flow, unpredictable revenue, no lead pipeline. I mean, you have no inquiries coming in right now. You don't have people that you think you're going to be working with in the next couple of months. It's like just what is right in front of you. Little to no visibility. It's like you've been offline, like you've not been creating content and showing up, or you're finding that what you are doing just doesn't seem to be getting seen by anyone, especially not anybody new. And the big one is you can't cover expenses. Like you are actually freaking out about how you're covering your business expenses, let alone your own wages. And let's just make a really clear note here that if you are not paying yourself a wage, this is by default a sign that we're in a critical condition and this needs to shift. The next level is stable. So this is where we have a steady cash flow, even if it's not a ton. We at least know that it is predictable. We are hitting our revenue goals, even if it's just our survival numbers. We've got a small pipeline. Like we have the inquiry coming in here and there. We've got slow audience growth. So it's not that you're necessarily getting seen by millions of people, but you know that every single month you're getting a few new people onto your email list. You're getting a few new followers, whatever that may be for you. And the big one, you're able to cover your expenses and you're not freaking out about that. The third level is a healthy business. So this is where we have a strong cash flow, more than we need. We are surpassing our goals. There is some steady growth that's happening. We've got a decent pipeline. Like we know that we've got a very engaged email list, for example. And we know that if we're going to do some sort of launch or put an offer out there, people are going to sign up for it. Or maybe you even have a wait list. We've got steady audience growth. So month upon month, you see those metrics increasing, whichever ones that you're tracking. And you have surplus cash flow for savings. So you're actually setting aside money for your operating expenses so that, if you do have a lean month, you're good to go. It's all good. So now you have those three levels. It's important to understand that depending on where you're at, your activities should look different. Just like how if we should actually be in spring, but we're trying to force summer, a lot of us can be in the critical or barely stable condition of business while trying to operate as if we have a healthy business. And that actually causes more issues. So if you're in a critical condition, we just need to make sure that you are getting enough oxygen. Like, think about what happens. I mean, I've literally been in the ICU before, and I know that the incredible people who were looking after me, all they cared about at that point was that I was staying alive. And they didn't necessarily care about my comfort, and I was very uncomfortable, barely being able to move. But if I was alive, they were doing their job. Once I was able to get out of the ICU, that's when it started to be focused more on my actual comfort and well being. So, for you, if your business is in a critical condition, we need to understand that for a business to be okay, we need cash flow. Your business needs money. That means you need clients. And so during this time, while it can be tempting to work on lots of different projects and maybe take on some pro bono work and do all sorts of different little things and get super creative, unfortunately, during this time, what we need to do is be uncreative. We just need to be hyper focused on what is it going to take for me to start landing more clients. And this is where simplicity is everything. We need to look at the data and go, what has gotten us the best results in the past? What did we stop doing, or what have we been doing inconsistently that got us into this position in the first place? Let's go back to the absolute basics and put other projects on hold. And we're not even going to worry about visioning right now. We need to get ourselves out of that state of panic and survival mode where we can't cover expenses. Once we know that we can cover those expenses and that the cash flow is a little bit more predictable, then we can start moving on to thinking a little bit more about the future. Because I don't want you to get stuck on a hamster wheel, but trust me, you'll be stuck on a hamster wheel forever if you are trying to operate at the wrong level based on your business's needs. When we move into that stable mode, I want you to think you're still in the hospital, but you are in a regular room and you are now eating real food. And we're starting to look at everything else that's going on, not just like keeping you alive, but okay, like, are you healthy? How can we get you back to optimal health? You might need to do some physical therapy. Like, we're re strengthening things and we're thinking about life outside of the hospital so that we can make sure we're prepared for that as well. And so, this is where in the stable mode for the business, we are really dancing between still maintaining those things that are going to keep our businesses alive. So we're maintaining those activities that we committed to while we're in a critical condition. But then we're also thinking about, okay, what comes next? Do we need to increase our goals? Is there something we can do to streamline this process? Can we add maybe an extra tactic now? Like, is there something else that we can be doing to double down on this so that we don't just get caught in getting by, but we were actually thinking about what we're moving towards? Then, once we can safely say that we're in that healthy zone, think about when a healthy person is healthy, we're not just thinking about survival. We're thinking, how can I get stronger? How can I get healthier and more vital? And so, for a business, this is where we are doing a lot of visioning. We are thinking, how can we make this better? Can we improve the team structure somehow? Do we need more systems and processes? Can we introduce something new? Can we do something to make sure that like we're securing our visibility well into the future? So we are looking ahead while obviously still maintaining those essential activities as well. So based on what I've shared, I want you to think honestly about, where is your business at right now? And is there a chance that part of the overwhelm has been because you are trying to do things in all three of these categories where you just need to be focused on one right now? I don't want you to be scared of narrowing down your focus and simplifying things, because if that's where you're at, like, that will get you out of this and into the next condition of health. But ignoring where you're at is only going to be detrimental to your business's health, but also to your own well being. And we need to make sure that you are okay too. And while you're doing this contemplation and you're really thinking, okay, what season am I in? How healthy is my business? I want you to also be aware of what else comes up. Because it can be very easy at times like this to, number one, see the results and freak out even more. Because if we have been in any sort of avoidance or denial of the truth, then Obviously, that's not going to feel pleasant to come to terms with, but once we know where we're at, we can make a plan and we can get out of this. So it is the only way forward. Just be compassionate with yourself. The other thing that I can notice happening, and I've had this happen with clients where I've introduced some of these concepts. By the way, concepts that took me a good 9 years of business to really click and understand after making so many mistakes, falling into all the traps that I've been talking about so far in this series. Just know that these were lessons hard learned because I was like, why is no one talking about this? But for you, if you hear some of this and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious. How didn't I see this sooner? I want you to know you're in really good company. Most of us don't see this sooner because people just aren't talking about this. Everyone is selling their one little solution. And like I said at the beginning, very few people are actually talking about your business as a whole because like this is this is the boring stuff and this is the stuff that's hard to sell. Like I will tell you that. It would be a lot easier. Like I could make so much more money so much quicker if I just sold one sexy thing like, visibility or like what I used to do, which was like personal branding. Now that I'm talking about the unsexy stuff and the stuff that people don't necessarily want to hear about, it's a tougher sell. But I'm doing it because, oh my goodness, like I've suffered for too long in my own business because I wasn't taught these things. And I also am pained to see my clients suffering because they are also falling into these same traps. So for me, there was no other option except to move in this direction and start talking about these things. So again, just be gentle with yourself. Know that I wouldn't be creating this series if it wasn't desperately needed. And you are here with me right now. We're doing this. We're going to face it. It's going to get easier from here. The worst of it is actually over. As much as your ego thinks, no, this is the worst. I don't want to look at the truth. No, that's a lie. You suffering ongoing is the worst of it. You now being able to take action every single day and get more clarity, that is going to make everything so much easier, not just now, but in the long run. So bear with me. Leave me a comment to let me know what resonated most. Or if you are on the fence, if you're not sure about what condition your business is in, what season you might be in, if there's anything you didn't understand or want clarification on, please drop me a comment. I'm really happy to support you. All right, well, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.